There are four main reasons that people typically reach out for support or coaching work, if that's what you want to call it. Now, I would call it sort of this idea of being a thought partner, somebody that you can think and learn alongside in order to lift the level of your craft or your impact. But there are four categories in which people sort of reach out. And this sort of was revealed to me um, much later in my work as a framework. And it's something that I wish I had a little bit sooner. So today I want to talk just a little bit about those four categories that I think people often reach out for, especially in sort of the space of knowledge workers. So in my case, I work a lot with teachers. So if you're an educator out there, and you're looking for a partnership with somebody so that you can get out of your head what is in your head and make clear and create some action, it takes four big categories that typically people would reach out for. And today I want to unpack that with all of you in this new space. But let me get into just sort of the shift for this podcast and this work that we're recording here. I'm going to do it sort of just talking head style, and it's just me, my thoughts. And for those of you who don't know who I am, it's Brian Seppi. Been an educator since 2004, and I've been working in the capacity of a coach, both instructional coach, working on other forms of coaching, and also a leadership coach um, across my time. And when people, so now let's get into the four big categories. This is just sort of front of mind, but if you can imagine just sort of a framework, a mental model for yourself to kind of hold on to, I'm going to describe it as no matter what, the coachee coming to the setting or the interaction with a coach or the person who is facilitating their thinking, that person is coming with um, some sort of thing that they are seeking to change in their own work. And that's sort of the first thing that you need to get clear on, right? And I don't think early on in my career I had enough understanding that like this is really about change in some capacity. And change isn't always like a bad thing. I'm trying to run away from something. Sometimes it's running towards something that I want to try. And when it comes to knowledge workers, there is a lot on everyone's plate all of the time. And it seems like there is more being added to the plate in a sort of continuous sort of fire hose setting, right? We just continue to keep it on. And people typically reach out in what I call the pick model, right? So I've sort of named this model myself. It's something that I have just noticed and been able to connect the dots on. When people were reaching out, I was paying attention to what drove them to that interaction of wanting to clear the space in their head and create some action for their work. And in this pick model, it's important that it's named pick because the person who is seeking the change, the coachee in this particular case, is still in control. They get to pick what they're coming to the interaction for. I'm not here to tell them how to think or what to do. I'm merely just holding the time and space for them to do their best thinking and create a sense of clarity in their work, a sense of action in their work, and a sense of energy and empowerment for the things that they're about to try. And in the pick model, it goes like this. The first one is P, which is problem. The second one is the I, which is innovation. The third one is C, which is contemplation. And the fourth one is knowledge. And so the first one, I believe, is people will typically come to you with a problem, something that they are seeing in their practice, especially as a knowledge worker, that is keeping them up at night. This is where coaches like to ask the question, well, tell me the thing that is keeping you up at night. It's a lovely question. It's a lovely frame. But I think there are often more than one problem that people are facing or trying to solve at any one given time. So it's really important for the coach to make sure that they can isolate the one problem that will have the single greatest impact on the work that they do. And so I'm aware that people will come to the setting with a problem. The second piece to this is innovation. And this is a little bit more structured. You can think of this in the terms of like technology, where people will come to you seeking some sort of innovation in their classroom or in their work. As a knowledge worker, they're trying to bring about change through innovation. And innovation isn't just simply or always tech related. Sometimes it's sometimes it's an innovation related to their productivity, or just streamlining their sort of systems or the processes that they're using to do the work that they do. Any type of change that you would make to an innovation or a setting where you are working with sort of other people, in this case for teachers, innovations can be really great. They're fun, they're experimental, they sort of have this sort of nice trajectory of like, we feel good about the things that we're trying and we're open-minded to things like failure. The third one, this one comes up a lot when people will go to a professional development of some sort or some sort of learning experience, a conference or otherwise, and they will come back and they have too many ideas, right? Or they know that the ideas shared are really important and they want to act on them, but they're not sure how to get started, or it's something that they just sort of keep in contemplation. So this is the contemplation portion of why people would reach out in the first place. They are contemplating, hey, I heard this thing at this training or this professional development. I want to act on it. But when I get back to my space, either as an educator or perhaps going back to their work in their own content, they're aware of it, the thing that they should be contemplating or trying to change or bring about into their work, but they sort of leave it out there and it just goes home with them every night, and then it comes back to the workplace every day, and they kind of continue to cycle through and think about it, but they're just sort of buffering in this contemplation phase. You've probably been there if you went to a training where you're sort of like, I know some of this stuff, but I'm not sure how to put it into play, and you kind of think about it, you kind of put it off. A week goes by, a week turns into 10 days, 10 days turns into a month, and now you're sort of still aware of it, or somebody will make you aware of it, but you're still in that contemplation phase. You haven't really moved it from contemplation to a plan, right? And you need that step of contemplation to plan in order to create any sort of action. So people will reach out because they are contemplating things. Now, all three of those things that we just mentioned first, the problem, the innovation, and the contemplation phase of why people would reach out to, is that people are seeking some sort of clarity or action off of those three pieces. The fourth piece to this equation, this pick model and this framework, and why I love it, is the knowledge piece. Okay. This is a really great frame to be aware of. There are times when you, the coach, are operating with a sense of credibility around a thing, right? So you could be the coach who has a great awareness and experiences around fitness and making fitness plans. You could be the coach who is really knowledgeable about um, cooperative learning strategies in the classroom, or really knowledgeable about leadership coaching, right? And people come to you because they are seeking knowledge that you have, that they are trying to access. And then they're trying to figure out how to move that into their own practice. So being a coach who can recognize when people are coming to you and they're seeking your knowledge moves you from sort of coach facilitator to a little bit more of a mentor in a directive stance, trying to figure out what people really want to know about the things that you personally know about. So all four of those sort of frameworks or levels are really important. The last one is important because you would have to recognize that somebody wants access to the things that you know, versus the first three are really about the things that my partner or the coachee wants to bring about change for themselves. Something is driving them to that conversation that they're working through in their own work that I can help facilitate or bring about awareness for. But that last one is really about having an awareness for the things that you may have knowledge wise, which I'm sure is an abundance of information that can really help the person next to you. And you would never want to withhold that for the sake that it could speed up and accelerate their growth and the things that they bring about change for in the classroom or in their knowledge work at large. So there you have it. My little framework that I use for really thinking about why people are coming to the interaction with me as a coach typically fall into those 4 categories of they're trying to solve a problem. There's an innovation that they're seeking that they feel like is going to bring about or accelerate change in their work. The contemplation phase, they've been carrying around an idea that they haven't acted on yet. And then the knowledge piece, they're looking for you to share some things that you know well and can really accelerate their growth. Well, this has been a new sort of experience for me to try this audio first sort of format on this podcast, and we'll see where it goes. But it's just me riffing and sharing my ideas, top of mind, things that have happened recently in my practice. Hopefully it's been helpful for you. If you could kindly leave me a message and let me know whether or not this is helpful and you want more of this type of content, I'd be grateful. And if not, if you want to share it with somebody, I'd be grateful for that too. But thanks for being here. I appreciate all that you do.